Beyond the Gate spoilers, September 29th. Jacob tells Vanessa the truth about Doug. Beyond the Gate spoilers for Monday, September 29th, 2025. Reveal that the truth is finally out. Jacob updates Vanessa with much-needed information about Doug. Doug McBride is dead, a news that hit the audience like a storm without warning, because he was not only a talented heart surgeon but also a conflicted person, a man both pitiful and angry. Doug fell into a gambling addiction, letting numbers and cards gradually destroy his career and marriage. Vanessa, the woman who once trusted him, who fought with him through many storms, finally exhausted her strength. She left him not because she no longer loved him, but because of the endless destruction he caused. But fate ironically pushed her into the arms of Joey, the very man who contributed to Doug's fall into a deep hole of debt. In her weakness, Vanessa found temporary comfort in Joey, and this betrayal made Doug's death even more painful. The bad news came to her when Jacob called to tell her that Doug had died in a terrible accident. The scene of her lying in bed next to Joey, hearing the news of her husband's death, became a tragic detail, a moment that made the audience shudder. The question immediately arose. Was Vanessa crying for Doug because of the real pain of loss, or was she just crying for her image, afraid that the world would gossip that she left her husband when he needed her most to run after another man? She was tormented intensely, because the past and the present were like two scissors cutting her heart. She had loved Doug, had shared a bed, had placed hope in him, but she was the one who had left him. This truth made her unable to mourn peacefully like a normal widow. However, Doug's death seems less clear-cut than it seems. In the darkness of the accident, amid the smoke and debris of the car exploding, there is a strange detail. Doug may have escaped in time before the fire engulfed the car, but was too badly injured to call out. When the police arrived, Jacob was the first to discover any signs of life. And this is the point that shocked the audience. Why did Jacob choose to hide? Did he see Doug scribble a few words, a message before he passed out, the content of which could turn everything upside down? Or did Jacob decide that it was best to let everyone believe Doug was dead, because his survival could threaten some plan or truth that Jacob wanted to bury? If Vanessa discovered Doug was alive, her reaction would be a dangerous maze. She could be happy, because deep down, her feelings for Doug had never completely died. But that joy will immediately be overshadowed by the shadow of guilt, because when Doug is between life and death, she is in the arms of her lover. The fear of being exposed to public opinion, the fear of being labeled a traitor, will force her into a difficult situation. The choice will become a nightmare. If Doug survives, will she return to care and make amends, or continue on the path she opened with Joey? Every step is a trap. Even another dark possibility may arise in Vanessa. If Doug lives, he will be the witness that makes her lose everything: honor, new love, concealment from society. In despair and confusion, will there be a moment when she thinks of extinguishing that glimmer of life to keep herself safe? A woman oppressed by social prejudices, by a feeling of guilt, can completely turn cold in a moment of stalemate. As the story progresses, the audience realizes that Doug is not only a victim of his own actions but also a pawn in a power game. Joey, who pushed Doug into a spiral of debt, is the one lying next to Vanessa when she hears the bad news. Jacob, who could have seen Doug alive, chooses to remain silent and keep the secret. And Vanessa, the woman torn between old love and new desires, is pushed into the most dangerous position. The question is no longer whether Doug lives or dies, but how the truth will be exposed, who will exploit it, and what path Vanessa will choose to survive. In their anger, the audience has the right to be outraged at Doug, who ruined his life with gambling. But at the same time, they cannot help but see the injustice that he could have survived but was abandoned by those around him, or worse, seen as a burden to be eliminated. Vanessa will be at the center of this tragedy, as every decision she makes, whether to return to Doug, stay with Joey, or hide a terrible truth, will cause new rifts, new betrayals, and a spiral of tragedy with no way out. If Vanessa knew Doug was alive, her mind would be thrown into a chaotic storm where joy, fear, and hatred would weave together into an untangling tangle. At first, she might feel relieved, because deep in her heart there was still a memory of the days when Doug was the man she loved, a doctor who saved many lives, a husband who made her believe that their marriage could stand any test. His survival in the tragic accident might evoke the feeling that fate had given them a second chance, a chance to make things right, to make amends for leaving when he was at his lowest point. But that joy would be fleeting, because soon after, the bitter reality would strike like a cold knife. Vanessa understood that if Doug lived, she would be faced with a cruel choice. Return to him to assume the role of wife, face public opinion and accept abandoning Joey, or continue the path of betrayal, choose Joey to maintain the feelings that had been kindled when she left Doug. Both paths were fraught with pitfalls. If she chose Doug, she would have to humble herself, bear the judgment that she was a bad wife, and risk being scorned by him for betraying her. If she chose Joey, she would lose all honor, become a symbol of greed and cruelty, a woman who abandoned her husband in a dangerous moment to run after her lover. The shadow of public opinion would crush her, no matter which direction she took to end that situation. A darker possibility could creep into Vanessa's mind when she realizes that Doug's existence threatens everything she clings to, her secret, her affection for Joey, and the public image she so desperately wants to protect. She may be tempted to take Doug's life to keep her secret. This isn't a cold-blooded impulse, but a feeling of being cornered, with no other way out. In moments of desperation, even a normal person can turn into a villain, and Vanessa is the epitome of that transformation. But will she actually act? This is the biggest internal conflict. Part of her wants to make amends, to prove that her love for Doug is not dead. But another part whispers that he is a burden, a ghost that will destroy the path she has chosen. Joey is also a force in her choice. He can manipulate her, force her to eliminate Doug so that they can both be free. If Joey instigates, Vanessa is more likely to fall into a dark spiral. If she takes the path of redemption, Vanessa will become a tragic but sympathetic character. She can face Doug, care for him while he is in his hospital bed, try to convince him that love is still there, that her mistake was just a moment of weakness. But this path is thorny, because Doug may never forgive, and Joey will become a dangerous threat, ready to take revenge for the betrayal. If she betrays again, choosing Joey over Doug, Vanessa will become a villain in the eyes of the audience. She will be consumed by guilt and prejudice, but will also expose the naked truth that people sometimes choose survival instinct and desire over morality. This path makes her a pariah of society, but also a loyal one to her own weakness and personal desire. And if she becomes the culprit, secretly ending Doug's life to protect herself, the tragedy will be pushed to the extreme. Vanessa will forever live in torment, because she not only betrayed her husband but also killed him, cutting off the last thread connecting her to the past. In the eyes of the audience, she will be the sinner, but also the most complex character, a woman pushed into a dark corner to the point of being ready to turn herself into a devil. The question is not whether Doug is alive or dead, but which path Vanessa will choose. Atone to regain some honor, betray again to keep freedom and passion, or become the culprit in a secret that only she and the darkness know. Each choice will lead her to the abyss, and it will be the audience who will watch, both hating, pitying, and curious to see whether Vanessa will cross the final line or not. Chelsea thought she had escaped the emotional wounds of the past, but the ghosts still haunt her, and this time they return with more intensity than ever. As Chelsea tries to build a stable future with Joey, fragments of memories and people she once forgot rise up like unexpected undercurrents, sweeping away all the fragile peace she has been holding on to. Allison, the name once associated with Chelsea's chaotic years, becomes an existential threat. Allison is not only a buried past, but also the embodiment of secrets Chelsea never wanted to expose. If Allison really comes back, she will not only haunt Chelsea's mind but also turn Joey's life into an uncontrollable hurricane. Joey, the man Chelsea once trusted, is drawing himself a dangerous journey. A romantic trip with Vanessa sounds sweet and romantic, but behind it lies a dark truth. Joey does not love Vanessa the way a man loves a woman, but he sees in her an opportunity, a means to legitimize shady money laundering deals. Vanessa, in Joey's eyes, is just a pawn to be sacrificed when needed. A screen to help him hide illegal money flows under the guise of love and fake sweetness. Chelsea stands in the middle of this situation as both a victim and an unwilling witness. She knows that Joey is not the type of man who can love someone completely, but she is not strong enough to completely cut off the ties. She is sucked into the promises, the fleeting moments of warmth that Joey gives, while deep down she clearly feels his scheme. And if Allison does show up, her return will be like a knife cut straight into the already rotten relationship, exposing all the weaknesses and deceptions that Chelsea tries to hide. What makes the situation more dramatic is that Joey may be playing a double game. With Vanessa, he created the illusion of an affair to take advantage of her. But with Chelsea, he still maintains a connection enough to control her, enough to make her unable to escape. Neither Chelsea nor Vanessa knows they are victims, but the audience sees clearly Joey's cruel arrangement. He is like a gambler who bets the lives and hearts of the women around him just to maintain his power in the financial underworld. If Allison shows up, she will be like the spark that ignites everything. Chelsea will have to face the question: does she really love Joey? Or is she just haunted by a series of past failures that makes her cling to him? And Joey, when forced between Vanessa and Chelsea, will choose to keep the love, or will he expose the truth that both are just pawns for him to exploit? Vanessa may become a shield to cover up the money laundering, while Chelsea becomes a mental bond that he cannot easily break away from. This story certainly does not have a peaceful ending. Chelsea will have to struggle with Allison, who reopens old wounds, with Joey, a traitor disguised as a lover, and with herself, a woman standing on the thin line between truth and illusion. Joey will continue to play his dangerous game until one of the pieces he is controlling collapses, and at that moment, his mask will fall, revealing his cruel true face. Tomas is trapped in an emotional spiral that he doesn't have the courage to face. He knows that his insecurities stem from his inability to balance his personal desires, his desire for affirmation, and his responsibilities in his relationship with Kat. Kat gave him a love that was not easy to come by, but at the same time, she also carried deep wounds from her family, from the betrayals she was forced to endure. Kat has the right to be protected, to be supported, but Tomas allows himself to stand in a neutral position, a false in-between that is really just an excuse to avoid facing the difficult choices. Meanwhile, Eva tries to bury his insecurities, not because she cares about him, but because she sees an opportunity. Eva has long been too good at playing the victim. She painted herself as the one who was hurt, the one who suffered because Kat and Tomas had been in a relationship long before the truth about their sisterhood was revealed. But in reality, Eva was never weak. She directly contributed to the destruction of Kat's family, had a hand in humiliating Nicole and Leslie, and then calmly played the role of the betrayed woman to hide her own intentions. The way she continued to have ambiguous behavior with Tomas, while knowing clearly that he was the one who loved Kat, was like a knife stabbing her own sister in the back. Eva knew that Kat had every right to be angry and hurt, but she still deliberately made Kat the villain in the story, as if Kat was just a selfish woman who refused to let go of the past. And Tomas, despite constantly complaining that he was in the middle, was actually a coward for not daring to choose to stand on Kat's side. Instead of protecting her, he turned to Eva as a temporary escape, a way to fill his insecurities with physical desire. Tomas knew Eva would not miss the opportunity to use this as a weapon against Kat, but he still let everything slide. That was not neutrality, but betrayal. Tomas's hidden ego and emotions made him vulnerable to manipulation. He knew that if Eva gave him the opportunity, he would not be strong enough to refuse, because his desire was too great and his self-esteem was too small. A kiss, a touch, was enough to destroy everything that remained between him and Kat. And when that happened, Eva would not hesitate to create a curtain, making Kat the wrongdoer, pushing the responsibility of the affair onto her sister. While she was the one who initiated in this situation, the audience can sympathize with Kat because she was betrayed not just once but many times. Each time, she is made into the bad guy in the eyes of others, while she herself has to suffer the consequences of Eva and Tomas's actions. Kat is not the drama queen that Eva made her out to be, but just a woman trying to maintain her dignity and truth amidst countless lies. She has the right to be angry, to reject Eva's mind games, and to turn her back on Tomas if he chooses to betray her again. The most tragic thing is not that Eva seduced Tomas or Tomas was weak in front of Eva, but that both will easily justify that it was all Kat's fault. That Kat was too tough, too hurt, not forgiving enough to forgive. That Kat pushed Tomas into Eva's arms. But the truth reveals a different picture. Eva only knew how to take advantage of the rift to glorify her selfish ego, while Tomas shirked responsibility by betraying her. In this dark picture, #Team Kat becomes the obvious choice. Not because Kat is perfect, but because she is the only one who dares to face the truth, dares to admit the pain instead of using it as a tool of manipulation. While Eva continues to pretend and Tomas continues to deceive himself, Kat is the only one who refuses to be turned into a pawn. And it is that resilience that makes the audience angry on her behalf, but also makes her a bright spot in the quagmire of continuous betrayals. Thank you for taking the time to watch my videos. All the content I make is just speculation and personal sharing. If you find the video interesting and useful, please support me with a like and leave a comment. If you have better ideas or more interesting speculations, please share them in the comments section for everyone to discuss. I appreciate all your contributions and support. Sincerely, thank you.